Mr. Manager, how do you want to handle these now linked items, 5A and 9B?
I believe the discussion item that Commissioner Olczek has placed on the agenda probably will be discussed in unison with the resolution. I don't think they're that far off. So perhaps if we took the resolution first, then I invited Commissioner Olczek to provide any additional comments. And I know that Commissioner Heyman is here this evening to address that issue also.
Well, the sponsor of item 5A is indisposed at the moment. So, Mr. Manager, if you have any way to introduce this item beyond that, that would be welcome.
We should invite Commissioner Heyman into the meeting. I believe. Let me get to it. 5A. Tomorrow evening, we will be hosting a meeting in conjunction with the Historic Preservation Department of Miami-Dade County. They've identified approximately 9 properties in Surfside for being eligible for historic designation, and they've also identified, I believe, 12 or 13 properties that are under consideration. They will be presenting a workshop for the general public, but also the town has specifically invited those residents who are and property owners who are impacted by that determination, either positively or negatively, to be able to have an opportunity to put a name with a face and meet the staff. There's also been discussion about the impact of the historical designation, as the historic designation properties are located essentially along the Collins corridor, and many of the properties are located between Harding and Collins, 94th south to the town limit. As was discussed during the budget meeting, we have a proposal in the budget this year for a study of that corridor to address potential redevelopment issues, and historic preservation is certainly one of the issues that comes to the forefront as you look at the future uses and development of the property. The Vice Mayor has sponsored a resolution asking for a deferral of 6 months from the board of the Historic Preservation Office, essentially a moratorium for 6 months and not designating any properties in Surfside as historic, in order to give us an opportunity to make this analysis and look at the corridor. This is a moving target, however, because since this resolution was put together, there's been discussion with county officials, there's been meetings, and we've also met with property owners of the properties within the Harding-Collins corridor, and 6 months may not be might be too long of a period of time for their particular needs. So those are the issues we're going to discuss here this evening, and it would be appropriate at this time to begin the discussion by taking action on the resolution and calling on Commissioner Heyman. Okay.
She's what?
Yeah, she's on the phone with the county attorney.
Okay. I'd like to make a comment on why I'm asking for this.
Right.
So the residents here, as well as the residents watching on TV, when this preservation came to light, they targeted the block from 93rd to 94th Street. Now, for those of you who know me from the past, and I don't mean my past life, I have been alluding for the last 20 years that the only development area for Surfside to expand anywhere in this town, it would be the corridor between 93rd and 94th, and thus bringing in Town Hall into the business district. So it'll be one continuous type business and Town Hall altogether. There is no other area. So I was a little bit upset that the preservation came along and tagged this one, that one, that one, and the other one. And I stated here at the last meeting, we really and truly we don't live in Boston, where they have gorgeous buildings that were built in the 1700s and 1800s. These are dumps, I'm sorry to say that. And they need to be revamped. We do have a limited knowledge of a developer that wants to develop that area with really, really high-end and a gorgeous development, as well as parking, obviously, because, nowadays we're not doing anything without parking. And so here's our opportunity for Surfside to expand. So I am not in favor of having this out of body coming and telling us what we should do. They're demanding on what they want, but they don't consider what our needs are. So I had asked the manager to draw this resolution because I want to make sure that our comprehensive plan allows for what we're trying to do. And so if we get accomplished and a compromise with the preservation people, as well as the support of the Commissioner Heyman, which is our commissioner for the district of Miami-Dade County, I think we'll be in a safe zone. Because once the resident sees and the proposal that is going to be presented, hopefully, if this goes through, we will be very proud because it will be something really, really nice to look at rather than to look at dumps. So I just wanted to, while we wait, I suppose, for the commissioner to come in, I wanted to give you my side, why I'm proposing what I'm proposing. Now, the only question that came about is, like the manager says on my reso, when we first started this, they already have come to town and assigned these properties, and so they asked for 3 months delay. But the 3 months are up, and they're about to vote now on the 20-something, I think 22nd or something, on the fate of Surfside. I think we should call our own fate, not them. And so hopefully we'll be able to work with them, and together with the support of our commissioner in Miami-Dade County, we can move ahead into the future. In the meantime, I've run out of words. So,
That's very hard. That is really hard.
so what do we do next? I mean, we're waiting for the commissioner.
Commissioner Olczak also put on for a discussion item.
He covered it.
I covered it?
Yep.
Thank you. Should we vote on this reso, or because we need to vote on the reso to begin with.
You can make a motion for discussion
Well, I
purposes
can't
or
right
to
now
adopt
because
it.
I have this.
Call on public comment, and hopefully by then Commissioner Heyman will be available to
Okay.
provide
Do I
input
hear a
also.
motion to move on the reso?
Yeah, I move that we move on the resolution.
Second.
Second. Okay. Open for discussion. Okay. Public hearing.
No,
Open.
no.
It's not public? Resident.
Yeah.
Oh, I have speaker cards?
And here's the commissioner.
Heritage? Oh, here's the commissioner. Commissioner, we been waiting for you.
My apologies.
Yes.
I thought you were budget.
Yeah. No, that's over. But what do? We have now a motion and a second.
And then public comment.
So should we first have the commissioner on the public comment?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner Heyman, you're on. Under public comment on the motion on the resolution.
Is this for the historic?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. My apologies.
It's been quite the evening. It's everybody's commission meeting except mine tonight.
Commissioner, for the record, may we have your name and
Miami,
address?
yes, please. Miami-Dade County Commissioner,
Thank you.
111 Northwest 1st Street. Proud to be the commissioner from District 4. But if I might take a point of privilege before I jump into this agenda item.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the great town of Surfside and their fine representation the other day. The mayor was there with 10 other cities and elected officials, including state representative, to stand up and literally get washed down for ALS. We raised quite a bit of money and had a great time. He actually took the ice bucket for the town and accepted the challenge, and it was greatly appreciated. So thank you, Mayor. The reason why I'm here is, and my apologies, I would have taken the time to reach out individually because I do have that type of relationship with you as elected officials representing our constituents, as I do with the other 12 cities I represent. Why I am here is I am very concerned with how things have been progressing or not progressing properly as it relates to the Miami-Dade County Historic Preservation. I had the opportunity to meet with the county mayor today and voice my great displeasure, give him the documents, and he was quite displeased. And prior to that, on 2 separate occasions, I met with the deputy mayor who oversees this entire department and division under regulatory and economic resources. They have the oversight for Office of Historic Preservation. What I'd like to put on the record is we are governed as a county with different rules, and one of them is Ordinance 81-13, Chapter 16A, that deals specifically with historic preservation. Before any of us, except possibly Commissioner Torgerman, was in politics the first or second go-round. This was written in 1981. It is a language that not only created but established the Historic Preservation Board for Miami-Dade County. And at that time, it gave municipalities who did exist at the time an option to opt out. They had 6 months. Additionally, anyone who incorporated after that 6-month period, they would have time to have consideration. Okay? As it stands, Town of Surfside comes under Miami-Dade County and their rules and that board. But within it also comes an appreciation for your self-determination and ability to self-govern. And what has transpired with this town, with another city, and with some other cities, but I'll speak specifically to 2 municipalities in my district that I represent, is, according to our county attorney, questionable as far as gross violations that I think were just mere violations of our own county ordinance. They did not govern themselves properly on what they are required to do in treating not only our constituents as a tax base and taxpayers, our constituents that may reside in this jurisdiction and have property in this jurisdiction, my elected officials, all of you, my constituents, and your responsibility as governing at a local level. That said, I have my own argument for them not adhering to the rules that we have put forth, not just in this ordinance of advisement, because they come under the Board of County Commission, and we have the authority over them. And I posted those. Of course, I don't have a clip, but I do have the site and the locations on the ordinance that they come under the direct jurisdiction and legislative control of the Board of County Commissioners, and they failed to address it on multiple times with this commissioner. And according to the mayor today, with him and his office too, because it is a strong mayor. Not only do they have responsibility of advisement and inclusion by ordinance, we have passed over the past years rules, both resolution and ordinance, to advise, inform, include us as a governing person so that I can work with other governing bodies and services when it comes to activities, events, and changes of significance to our community, whether it's a disaster, a spur-of-the-moment emergency, or something that needs serious contemplation and inclusion because it could affect everything from your master plan, zoning, economic development, retirement of debt, and a whole bunch of other things, including a budget you're working on currently or in the future. If I can tell you that I am unhappy with this county department, that would absolutely be an understatement. I've spent the better part, as you have in budget time, excessively in this issue on multiple jurisdictions, because I asked for communications of what had transpired specifically to your town, and what I got in return was not the scope of what the intentions were for the town of Surfside, including 20-plus properties that they have initiated and or designated without proper notice at multiple levels But what I absolutely found offensive is we started asking for information, and most of you know some of my downtown staff, Margie Amador, and we have the paper trail of where we have asked and said, begin the forward message, good morning, here's your follow-up on what's being closely monitored. And we asked specifically for the town of Surfside, and what we got was a backdate thing from June where they started things with selective people, but not appropriately and according to what is required by ordinance of Miami-Dade County. And to my great dismay, as much as we played catch-up for what we asked specifically to my two communities that are under consideration for a working relationship with a county board, I heard from elected officials and administration of their concern of not properly having the issue vetted out with all communications, but selective ones. And here I am getting selective communications. Specifically to Surfside, you will have a meeting on Thursday the 4th, individual meetings with remaining commissioners for the town of Surfside. This is August 29th that came in. Wednesday the 10th, there'll be a public workshop at Surfside Town Hall to explain the benefits of historic designation. Well, that's good, and I'm blessed because I represent you. I have an understanding of where you are and how to get here, but no time to it. Or the parameters, if it's a public meeting, and it would be, and assume more than one of you, it would be sunshine, it has to be noticed with no details. And then, of course, my favorite, to be determined, we have offered to provide an architectural walking tour on a Saturday morning. Okay, let me help you understand this. The part of including government officials who know their own community, the first thing I would raise, forget about the content, is the time structure on it, knowing that it absolutely would exclude a significant portion of this community that by faith does not do working business on Shabbos. So that would have all the more say, be familiar with the elected officials in an area so you respect inclusiveness. But what came down, and the reason that I felt compelled to be here tonight is I found out on Saturday after I walked through the 20-plus properties initiated and designated, including one set for a vote, specifically downtown on designation, it wasn't included. Not tonight's meeting, but most especially September 17th, where Miami-Dade County Historic Preservation is having a meeting. It got noticed and sent out to specific property owners on August 29th that the board, the Historic Preservation Board, will hold a public meeting to either approve or deny the designation of that person's property on the 17th down at 16th Street and 4th Northeast Avenue, the Trinity Cathedral Church. I had to find out from a complaining resident and property owner that a meeting significant to this community is being held way downtown at 2:15 in the afternoon, and get a copy of it after my office asked for what is going on in my own community so I could be inclusive and responsive. As it sits right now, there is legislation proposed. I didn't make the last League of Cities meeting, but someone that upset and elected from a municipality in another city proposed, got the executive board to agree, I believe unanimously, but I wasn't there, and they're moving ahead with allowing municipalities to opt out of the control of the Dade County Board that seems to lack inclusiveness, respect, full communications, and a working relationship. I have asked the county attorney to draw up set up a letter through the administration out of respect to the mayor, because I cannot determine behavior and other directives directly to county employees under the county charter. But I am asking, specific to my district, the 13 municipalities I represent, and I seriously believe the governing body deserves weighted input, respect, and full information to self-govern and self-determination, and look at all the consequences spelt out in our original ordinance, that I am asking for that county board that doesn't meet the initial intent and requirements, and in my opinion violated the ordinance, and I have concurrence by county attorneys, to suspend anything that they do in my district on behalf of my 13 cities. And I will get to any and every one of them and ask for their own input, and if they would like to opt out from under the county, because you feel that you have the best of intentions and will be open in your communications to your own respective towns, villages, cities, and I think that's it, villages, towns, cities that you represent, that will allow for it. I don't know how my other colleagues feel on this. Because of the sunshine, I haven't had a chance to vent the frustrations that I've been going to, but I have heard I am not the only one. I know you have a specific ordinance coming up right now. Ironically, it's on the same days, on the same heels of your putting together a budget for public testimony. Sitting formally on the South Florida Regional Planning and knowing the discipline you have to meet obligations, planning, zoning, with a vision for economic development, addressing what seems to be an ongoing problem with both your own residents trying to commute and utilize your business district, your government center, because I've heard about it. I keep referring things on state roads to your state legislature. I know the issues you're working with. This needed to be included on that, because some of the plans on your future master plan with this existing board and the previous one addressed parking, addressed access, addressed changing to lead status, additional provisions, respectful of height, respectful of zoning, and working within your existing code to move ahead everything from a business district and economic development to the issues of traffic and parking. And looking at 24 businesses or properties, I'm going to conclude my frustrations by telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, I'm older than some of these buildings that are designated for historic preservation. And in due seriousness, when I'm looking at awnings instead of, Ashley comes in when I profess to be older, I presented this to people on the very involved in other historic boards. One at a meeting last night. I had some dialogue with some other people tied to our historic groups. They couldn't believe some of these were actually even marked for it, to put these people through the process. How could I allow it? And my response was, I just got the list of 20-something properties in one of my city and photographed it, because some of it we had to drive around multiple times and snap pictures because we didn't believe it. It didn't constitute the very character of what was in it for them to make decisions and recommendations. So to say, you're sharing your dirty laundry, I've taken it to the top of who needs to handle it as far as the county goes, because it goes to question the professionalism, but the consequence to some of my cities. Right now, you have something on that says delay for 6 months. I just want to tell you something that I'm not sure how long it's going to take me, but right now, till I get resolved in communication and a satisfaction of the respect that my elected officials deserve on their hands-on relationship in their respective jurisdictions, I am not going to allow anything. I'll defer it. I will protest this. I will keep it in the ozone if I have to before it ever comes to the Miami-Dade County Board of County Commissioners as it relates to any properties in District 4 till I am satisfied you are properly noticed. And everybody else, according to a very good ordinance, have been respected and the law has been adhered to. Right now, I stand on it being violated. As far as your moratorium to move ahead, I would suggest, based on my dialogue, you revisit why you want to wait 6 months. That's a long time for economic development or people making initiatives to make improvements or make anything else that they want with your property, their property, your master plan. I'm not sure who the respective owners are, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to support a recommendation at all from the Historic Preservation as it relates to the town of Surfside or any other city right now, municipality in District 4, so that you're going to even entertain delaying something where otherwise you would make a call on certain things based on what your needs and objectives are for the people of the town of Surfside. Go at it. Before I was going to say, I think giving you time would give you more time to look at this, considering nothing I got has been forthright, and I'm your county commissioner, and that's one of my departments. 6 months isn't going to make a difference. I'm not going to support anything right now till they get their act together. And for right now, I believe I have the support of the mayor. I can't speak to any of my colleagues because of sunshine.
Commissioner?
Thank you.
Commissioner, I have a question. I have a very important question because I drew the resolution for the delay, as you know that. But my question to you is, I have two questions. Number one is this meeting that's taking place on September 17, which apparently was supposed to be written in stone, and whether they say yea or nay, and that's what we're afraid of, or at least I was afraid of, that they would take these things to heart and then designate these buildings, which are a bunch of dumps. So my question to you is, are you going to delay this of the September 17? What is the action plan for September 17?
Thank you, Councilman, or Vice Mayor. I have limitations as an elected official with the Dade County Charter because we are a strong mayor. The mayor can take the action. I will express my objection to it being held in advance. I will express my objection to selecting any property that wasn't properly noticed, included, vetted, and taken care of according to the ordinance, and hopefully they do the right thing. I am also having the county attorney suggest that they cancel that meeting because it falls within District 4. I don't have enough time to do it by ordinance. But if it comes to that and there's resistance, I'll do it countywide and ask for them to be suspended till we hear from the League of Cities who pass something and the respective cities that are in play for decisions they made with possibly not adhering to the law. Maybe the other ones and Surfside and Bay Harbor Island are the exception. I'm going to do everything I can to stop it. To allow you more time, but not have this go through.
Okay, so my second question is, as you know, we have a little later, or I think they linked it while I took a small break, for the resolution. Should we not move then forward with this resolution then? Because then it's a mute, or, I mean, I don't want to add paper where we don't need to add paper.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I know you have counsel here. I'm telling you that I'm not going to support anything coming to the County Commission and moving forward in District 4 as it relates to historic preservation.
Okay.
So right now, you don't need it.
Okay.
But the other thing I want to tell you, on the 17th, I will tell manager or actually, not the mayor because the sunshine, I will make sure the entire body here is advised what the outcome is. I will speak to the mayor hopefully tomorrow and see if he can change the meeting on the 17th. But it depends on what else may have been noticed for that date. If it's not in our area, but I will ask that the property in the town of Surfside be removed from the agenda that night. That is a designation. And I'd like to put one other thing, Mr. Mayor, on the record. I spoke to my appointee, and I have great confidence in him. The board is made up of 13 members. And I told him going in, if there's anything related to my district, I want to know about it, or something of significance, because I love walking the Freedom Trail in Boston and the old cathedrals of New York, and I have great respect for our roots. But time and place and inclusiveness has to be part of the deliberation at all levels of government. And what I heard from my own appointee that I expressed great disappointment in is he said, Commissioner, the county staff made the recommendation. You are their boss. And he was right. Based on the ordinance, he said, I thought you blessed it, so I supported it. How's that for a change of tune? It's like it's like I guess he expected, like I did, that they would follow the rules. I appreciate what you did because it said slow it down to be inclusive. I can tell you I will handle that on my end. I think the deliberation needs to go on zoning, land use, master plan, economic development, the tone of your residents, businesses, and commuters in the area, and govern yourself like that. But I'm going to be real clear with you. As much as I can respect and appreciate history, older or younger than me, I will not support in a town such as Surfside the dynamics of where you have been and the direction you are going to place 20-something parcels of property on Harding and Collins in the dynamics of historic preservation so that the outside of their buildings will not change. And we actually went through quite a bit of traffic. That's my driver from the other day. She thought we were going to lunch, but she ended up driving around. I have buildings that beg to say that, they shouldn't have even been included in anything. I mean, seriously, from hurricane improvements, satellite dishes, awning windows, aluminum banisters, right on down. Then, of course, you do have some wonderful buildings. I live in the great city of North Miami Beach, and I was so proud as a councilwoman to do the first one on a fountain and then encourage some houses that went back to the days of Fulford. That's what it's about, inclusiveness, deliberation. Vice Mayor, I don't believe your 6-month moratorium is necessary. I will take care of it on the county level by stopping anything that comes our way. And I suggest that you make your governing decisions based on your everyday tasks at hand and the information you have.
And one last question. Because I support that 100%, and you guys know that. One last question. I know that our chance to opt out of this long gone. Is there a possibility that we can revisit that or no?
anything I do as a legislator takes the majority of the votes. I will look at all options because right now I'm a little bit on the very frustrated and angry side, but that doesn't make for good policy. I'm going to step back myself, but we have some wonderful new cities that had old property, and they like an opportunity to self-determine what they want to do and have a greater say than the county. So I am looking at that. I have to believe and have confidence in my elected officials and the respect that you'll have for historical preservation, because it really is who we are and defines us, and catalog it consciously in decisions for your use, your land scope of direction you want to take in the future, and allow for people to opt out. I think there has to be safeguards because you don't want massive change for one thing or another with a small board instead of county-wide deliberation. But we are pursuing it. Thank you.
Commissioner, before you, oh, okay, I'm sorry. If I may, because I met with them, and I'm a little bit, I'm equally disturbed now that I see the number doubled from what I was originally told. But I expressed my concern with them because I had told them that we had just passed a budget item to do a whole corridor analysis. We had asked our town planner to do that. I mean, they gave a nice, slick presentation. But they also told me that someone, if this meeting on the 17th goes forward, which right now it's on the books, they told me that the only way to defer or stop anything is someone from Surfside's got to be there and has to, ask them to not designate something. So
I am, if I might, Commissioner, I hopefully will get this resolved tomorrow or tomorrow, Wednesday, or this week. I will work with the mayor and the deputy mayor to try and get this resolved and give your manager an answer so he can make sure all of you know. If not, I will make sure my office calls each of you. You are the frontline government. We need to make sure it is you that has objection first. I'm going to ask that this item and any other item that I may not even know about still that affects a municipality in District 4 be removed from the 17th till we get clarity of inclusiveness and everything else ad nauseum I spoke about. If that suffices, by putting a notice in from our county attorney, we were drafting the letter in Manager Crody's office earlier this evening, that will do it. If not, I would advise you all and then have someone in representation to adhere to what Vice Mayor wanted to do to delay it till you got fully informed. I think that's a prudent thing to do.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to say is that I publicly thank you for doing that and taking that courageous step, because I also met with these people, and I, on a one-to-one basis, I had several witnesses with me that I expressed just exactly what you said. I was outraged. I was just outraged when I saw what they were planning to do. So I appreciate your forthcoming in that and courageously fighting the issue, which we were ready to fight it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I took the liberty of making copies of some of the pictures. Some of them clearly deserve a dialogue, but most of these 20, I believe it's 24 properties, don't. If you would like it, I'll be happy to leave it with the clerk. You all could take a peek through it. Some of them are much younger than you as buildings.
So
and
is this
also,
meeting tomorrow still going to happen then?
17.
No, there's a meeting tomorrow.
there's a meeting tomorrow also that I had to find out on my
There's a
own.
meeting tomorrow with them and presenting, but I don't know if we really truly need to meet with them. I much rather defer to the Commissioner, Sally Heyman, to do what she's doing, and hopefully we'll come to a resolution on that. So I think maybe perhaps we should cancel that meeting with the Preservation Board.
As you look or consider canceling it, we did send notices to all the property owners, the 10 or so that have been designated as eligible and have received the letter, plus the 13 that have been identified as potentially eligible, notifying them of the meeting. We sent those out last week.
Yeah, I know, but
So I just wanted you to...
but my point to be made is, it's really at this, Commissioner, correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of mute to go through all of this until something is decided and you take the action you need to take in order for us to move forward.
Vice Mayor, I don't have a position on it because, one, if it's publicly noticed where more than one of you could come, you have to respect that. You need at least, I believe it's 48 hours to change out, and you did get a lot of people on something like
Right.
that. Just maybe if someone from the city could make on my behalf represent, I believe one of my staff was going to attend and just to listen and learn, and that's it. But if you want to, Mr. Manager or Mayor or Attorney or anybody else, I will feel very comfortable with my confidence in you to have you share my thoughts of not here, not now, not this way. And that's about as clear as in general as it could be.
Yeah,
but you clearly noticed the meeting, and you got to respect
But
people
the
coming.
intention is not to get into the specifics of any given project. There's a time and place for that. Historic preservation is a foreign concept for most people in our community, so the intention and the interest is to start the dialogue. And hearing what you're saying about the legality of the process obviously is disturbing. But it's really an opportunity to open the lines of communication between the county staff and our community. And It's not excluding any property owners that may be affected, but it's not to litigate those cases. There's a time and a place for that. So I just want to be clear, because what I'm understanding is that the resolution that's before us may not be necessary because you've got it. But I also want to give, okay, so I just also want to give some context, because the town has, as of late, been engaging in conversation with historic preservation staff, went to a historic preservation meeting 2 meetings ago, middle of the summer, and asked for a 6-month deferral, which the conditions changed. Somebody intervened and said, you know what, I'm one of the affected parties, 3 months will be fine, and there were reasons for that. But the Historic Preservation Board was quite willing to work with the town so as not to adversely impact us as we explore our interests. And obviously that's what we hold dear, is advocating for our interests, and they did express their willingness to listen and to change their behavior based on that. So I think
That's good. That is good to know.
Working together with your office, as well as the Historic Preservation Board and staff, I'm quite confident that we can find ourselves in a better position that addresses some of the root cause issues, which is how are properties identified, how are they designated, what are the notice requirements, because I think any reasonable person would agree that finding out in a letter that you're going to lose property rights is of concern.
Well said, Mr. Mayor. If I can, to Vice Mayor Torgerman's request on September 10th, I don't have any information about it, but it says public workshop. So,
I won't make you stick around for community notes, but it is September 10th, 6 o'clock, right here in the Commission chambers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council,
And Commissioner,
Manager, and Attorney.
thank you, and I invite you to stay because we do have some public comments. And
I'll
just
stay
the
for this item.
Okay,
Well,
perfect.
Or-
may I
or is
may I
that
ask a
later?
question? If we do pass this resolution, which we've brought up for this evening, that doesn't hamper anything that you're trying to do, right? And doesn't it kind of like
Support it?
support your position, show Surfside's now on the record, we've taken this position since we've put this resolution up, and it's up here before us tonight. So working together, it would seem like what you're doing is great, and I think that we only add to your arsenal by saying that we've already come ahead and that we want to be notified and have a 6-month period. Now, if other people want to go ahead on their specific properties and go ahead of time, that's more than their right to do.
Actually, my strength as an attorney is not in land use, but if you look at your language, it says to grant a 6-month deferral for designation of any and all properties. the county ordinance actually speaks to a property that does get a designation. You're asking for a deferral for 6 months, so that puts any decision by this body on hold for 6 months, and it's going to take legislative action to change it, versus I'm saying I will do whatever it takes to not allow it to come to a vote. So you got your 6 months. You don't need this. So that way, if you want to proceed with something within your own governing authority, you may do so.
Good. Okay, so the person that's sponsoring this resolution has withdrawn it, so we're covered there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And Council.
Commissioner Olczyk, you had a discussion item. Have your concerns been addressed adequately? Okay. And then there's also a informational piece. Mr. Manager, do you want to address that, and then we'll open up public discussion, public comment?
Let me just put on the record the report of the building official who is ill this evening. He reports that the Miami-Dade County's Office of Historic Preservation contacted the building department on July 24th requesting review of the plans, and those are the additional items that were addressed. But he did want to put on the record that property owners of 9348 Collins, 9364 Collins, 9372 Collins, and 9300 Collins have applied for building demolition permits for their property.
Duly
noted.
noted.
To historic preservation.
Okay, thank you. First, I'd like to acknowledge a former colleague, Michelle Kligman, who's here tonight. She'll fill out a speaker card. I'll give you the privilege of stepping up.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to
Sorry.
really, I think...
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle Kligman, 8950 Dickens Avenue. Really, I don't have anything additional to say. I think Commissioner Heyman pretty much spoke on behalf of us. We're very fortunate to have her represent our district. Just to echo some of the sentiments, I think that when it comes to a town like Surfside, we want to be able to control our own destiny. And having these destinations happen without a discussion, without inclusion, just to echo the sentiments of Commissioner Heyman, I hope that we not only object, but that we object strongly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. De La Pena?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Leo De La Pena. I have offices at 600 Brickell Avenue, Suite 1750, Miami, Florida, 33131. I stand today here representing 9340 Collins Avenue, LLC. That is the property that is subject of litigation with the county. That is the property that's coming up for trial on December 17th. There are some few points that I'd like to address. First, I'd like to thank this body for the concern that you have for the process that's been taking place, and that for the vision that this developer has for the property that we own and for other properties that we are looking on that particular block. I want to say some few things, and let me address one first. The property, our property, that is subject of being designation is not historical and has no historical significance, period. None whatsoever. One of the first things that I did when we received the letter from the county was that I did a national search for the experts that could tell me whether that property has historical significance or not. And I retained a professor at Yale University, professor of architecture, who is well known in this area, and he assured us that that property is not historical, has no historical significance at all. Let me tell you why we did that. Mr. Groskopf is here. Many of you know him as a very reserved, mild-mannered young man. He's very private. His family, his group, stands for historic preservation. We know what is worth preserving and what is historical. And we have done more for historic preservation in Miami-Dade County than anyone else. Mr. Groskopf and his family and his company donated to Miami-Dade College the Freedom Tower. And I invite anyone here to speak to Dr. Padron, who is the president of that college, so he can explain to you what that has meant for Miami-Dade College and what has meant for culture in generally. So when we go out and hire someone to tell us whether it's historic or not, is because we stand for historic preservation, and we have put our money where our beliefs are, where others have not. There has been a great vision developed by our group to develop that whole block between 93rd and 94th. That vision would be killed if this property is designated historical. We are gravely concerned. We are gravely concerned not only with our property rights, but we are gravely concerned that a project, a vision that we have worked very closely with this town will be killed if this property is designated to be historical. Thank you.
Mr. Kousoulis.
George Kousoulis, 9225 Collins Avenue. I was a commissioner of the Montgomery County Historic Preservation Board for 10 years, chairman of that board for 5. It was a board that oversaw probably 10,000 properties. We probably designated about 5 during my tenure. It included streetcar suburbs like Chevy Chase, some plantation homes, a lot of farmsteads, other Victorian neighborhoods, and some early 20th century neighborhoods. I think when you look at this issue, you need to understand how that board looks at these properties so you can fight them properly and meet them head on, because though I heard a story of like a board that seems to, you know, in terms of due process and procedure, they seem to be a bush league. But you may not be able to count on that in the long run. What I saw during that tenure, and one of the reasons I brought up how many properties we saw, once you've designated a lot of stuff, the only thing you can do in the future is to keep on sifting. And you look for what's left. And you'll find something. If you look hard enough, you'll find something. But the question is it worthwhile? You can't compare Miami to Boston. You'll fall into a trap. Miami is a 20th century city. There's nothing of any consequence here that's older than that, except for a few minor things. Miami Beach, the waterfront of Miami Beach, is entirely designated from South Point all the way up to Altos del Mar, except for the canyon, which is primarily 70s condo towers. I suppose at some point somebody may want to look at those. But there's a lot of stuff from the 60s and 50s that gets designated. So keep that in mind. Everything that they need to be looking at here, nothing has historic significance as a site. You have to look at the historicity of what is a district. And none of that stuff really makes a compelling district. But that's the only thing I think they can rely on. To be able to look at any individual property and say this is, you know, an individual landmark is ludicrous. So they would have to try and construct a historic district out of what's there, and to tell you why this family of buildings tells a story, a cohesive story, that, you know, the 9 of them, the 20, the other 13 or 20 all together, that they tell a story, that the one isolated one up north of 93rd somehow is a part of the ones to the south. And I don't think they'll be able to do that. But you need to be able to understand how they're going to look at this issue and how to be able to confront it or at least address it with scholarship. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody's comments. Commissioner, thank you for your time and your advocacy on this. We've heard that this, and you've already pulled it back. We don't need to pass it, but I would just ask that we maintain the coordination, because if we need to call a special meeting to take action, because of the importance of this matter in our community, I'm sure that we would all accommodate that if need be. So,
thank you,
thank you.
Commissioner.
Okay. Let's go back to the beginning. Sort of. Not quite the beginning. And let me, if we may, go to item 1G. And even though I acknowledged, I now want to invite our colleague from Bay Harbor Islands who would like to address this commission to address the language arts after-school program.
As the Commissioner wanted me to remind you how you did pretty well getting soaked with the rest of us last week. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for having me this evening. I appreciate your time. I obviously came at an interesting evening to attend. I'm just hoping you guys get out a little earlier than we did last night, which was 1:45 in the morning, but I didn't think I'd get these 2 nights in a row. I'm here before you tonight because I'm trying to see if you would be willing to add an additional service. And obviously, given what happened earlier today,